What's up everyone, welcome back. Today I'm going to talk to you about my fishing rod setups. I've had a few comments in the past asking me about what type of fishing rods I have, the reels that I've got them paired with, and what it is that I'm using. So today I'm just going to briefly go over all the rod and reel setups that I have right behind me. This is pretty much everything that I own with the exception of 2 rod and reels that I have back home in Houston. So when I visit, I have something to be able to use there. But for the most part, less than 15 rod and reel setups. I've got them all back here. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. We'll start with the saltwater rod and reels that I've got. For the most part, these guys don't see much action. I don't go to the salt as often as I would like to here in New York. However, that'll change a lot whenever I make it back home to Houston. I live right off the coast, so these guys will be able to get their fair share of action here really soon whenever I retire. This right here is a Therese waxwing made by Shimano. It's a 7.2 rod, medium action, fast action tip, very, very sensitive. It's paired with a Shimano Sustain fishing reel. It's a 4000 series, kind of overkill. I bought this thing several years ago, and if you ask me, I would prefer to have maybe a 3000 at the most, but what I would really love to have is this same reel in probably a 2500 series. I love fishing, really small rods and reels, just because I love the fight that each fish has to give. So right next to it, another saltwater setup, a Shimano Therese rod, 7 foot, medium action, but it's just a casting rod. It's paired with a Shimano Calcutta, a 700 series, and this thing is a beast. It's very old. I purchased it a long time ago as well. Everything that I've got is pretty much really old. I don't go through rod and reel setups, like chewing gum. This thing is nice. It's a beast. It's reeled in some really big bull reds back in the Galveston waters, and I'd love to be able to use it more. I've only used it once here. When I was fishing the Hudson for stripers, I tried my darndest to catch something. However, neither one of those rods were able to reel in a striper since I've been here. But again, they'll get some use whenever I get back home. So let's go on over to the freshwater side. You all see me using these a lot. So the rod, it's a Pro Qualifier from Bass Pro Shops. Purchased it back in 1997. This thing is 20 years old. And the reel that I have it paired with is a Shimano Curado, the original one. It's a 200 series whenever the Curados were new to the game. Very, very awesome setup. I loved this rod so much that I decided to buy another one. However, this one's a 6.5 footer. This one is a 7 footer, and they're both medium heavy action, very sensitive. It's got an ergonomic reel seat and cork. So both of them are exactly the same, just the lengths are different. Bass Pro made some really awesome fishing rods back in the day. However, in today's time, I do not purchase Bass Pro rods anymore. Main reason is they skip out on the higher end stuff. The blanks that they're using right now, if you were to buy a Pro Qualifier, it's nothing in comparison to this rod. They don't use quality guides in comparison to these. These are all Fuji SIC guides. And the ones that they have now, I can't even recall what it is that they use, but they're garbage in comparison to these two. So yeah, the other bait caster that I have is a Shimano Calcutta 250 series reel. Very good. Also really old, probably 10 plus years old. And the drag and everything on this thing, again, very awesome. The reason why I have this one is because it's dual purpose. I can use it in the saltwater, I can use it in freshwater. It takes a beating, and it's gonna keep on freaking kicking. Catch some really big fish with this. I've got it paired with a jigging rod right now, a Shimano Trevally, and this thing, looks are very deceiving. Very powerful rod. It's got a ton of flex in it. I used this one out in the salt when I went to fish the Kayak Classic at Jamaica Bay. It was a kayak fishing tournament, and The guys that were out there couldn't believe some of the fish that I was actually catching on this thing. It's so tiny, you would think it was a trout rod. Not trout meaning sea trout for saltwater. I'm talking freshwater trout. That's how small this thing is. Ton of flex, super strong. Has reeled in really big fish. This guy reeled in like a 40-inch striped bass out there in the salt, and it took it in stride. The reel was super smooth. The drag is still super smooth. None of the components have been replaced in any of my reels. So I don't believe in re-greasing them every year. Some guys do that, more power to you. However, I don't. These things they're expensive. You pay for what you get though. So being able to just go out there, use it, worry-free, not having to, think about, oh, well, I need to replace gears or I need to replace bearings, so on and so forth. Nope. All of these guys will take a beating and they keep on. So yeah, that's this setup right here. Whenever I am not using a jigging rod, or whenever I'm not doing jigging, this reel actually goes on to the other Bass Pro qualifier. So that's what I'll use for freshwater, to have another freshwater setup as far as the bait caster goes. Now let's go to the spinning setups. This guy right here, pride and joy. I absolutely love this rod and this reel. They're super light. I can fish all day long. I'm talking like, let's say 10, 12-hour day of fishing. Get out there early in the morning, and if this was the only one that I had to use, I could use it the entire day. The reel is a Shimano Stratic. It's a CI4 1000 series. Super light reel. The rod is a Shimano X-Bride. It's a light action with a fast action tip. Super nice freaking guides. I forgot what the guides were, and I don't think they're Fuji SIC. I think they're, honestly, I'd be lying to you if I just guessed, but I want to say, just guessing, it's an Alkanite guide. But very, very beautiful rod. Very, very strong, super light, sensitive, a nice freaking reel seat. It's ergonomic, a little bit of cork, some EVA foam. Very good setup. This thing is just a beast. I've caught quite a bit of largemouth. It's not really been tested yet, so I'm still waiting to catch that one big fish that's going to just make the drag scream. The reel has caught big fish on one of the other rods over here, but this rod itself has not been tested, so still looking for that test. Let's go to one of the ones that I just purchased recently. This rod and this reel I just purchased for 2016, and it's a, what do you call it, a St. Croix Icon series, a walleye rod, and I don't, okay, so here's a quick disclaimer. I don't buy rods based off of a certain technique or a certain fish. Without a doubt, I do not do that. That is not me. I'm not a pro by any means. I don't pretend to be. I'll buy something based off of the flexibility that it has, and I will use it in just about every application that I possibly can. So the rod, pretty decent, cork handles, a nice ergonomic, hand, a seat. So whenever I grip it in my hand, it fits really nice. It's a little bit of EVA foam, very sensitive. The reel, it's a Shimano Ceros. It's a 1000 series. I love 1000 series reels, so if you haven't noticed already, I've got three of them, and a couple of 500s. I love ultralights. I love light action. Again, just tests your skill as an angler to be able to bring in super big fish. That's what these things do. So now going back to what I was saying earlier before I started rambling on. This thing caught my very first striper. When I was out in the Hudson fishing, I was jigging with a bubblegum plastic worm on a jig head, and this thing caught, I believe it was a 7 or 9 pound striper, and it performed awesome. I was able to reel in that striper, no issue. I fought it for a little bit, but ultimately this light action rod and this 1000 series reel Just, it was amazing being able to catch that. Can't say enough good things about this thing. So moving on to this one right here. Oh my gosh, I absolutely love this thing right here. It was one of the twin sisters, that's what I called them. I had two of them. Both of them were the same exact thing, you know, identical. It's a, not a Shimano, listen to me. It's a Bass Pro Microlight Series 5-foot ultralight rod, and it's paired with a Shimano Sahara, Sahara 500 series spinning reel. Oh my gosh, if this thing could talk, it would probably tell you to tell me to please retire it. It has been through so many fish, so many big fish. I've got a video where I caught a 17-pound blue cat, I want to say, and the rod was doubled over. I had guys commenting saying that they thought the rod was going to break, that I was high sticking it and it was going to snap any minute. Nope, took it in stride, just took every bit of what that blue cat could dish out to it. Freaking awesome, awesome little setup right here. The other one, oh my gosh, it broke my heart when I lost it. I was on the Pro Angler, and of all things, I've only turtled once in that thing, and I learned my lesson. I was just not even paying attention, reaching for a marker buoy. The wind kept pushing me, so I was drifting away from the marker buoy. I kept reaching, extending. Soon my center of gravity was no longer in the middle of the kayak. It was leaning towards the outside of the kayak. Kayak flipped over. One of the rods was not secured, and boom, to the bottom of the drink it went. I dived down several times trying to feel for it at the bottom, and I couldn't find it. So may that guy rest in peace. Yeah, freaking awesome ride. One of the stories, most memorable stories that I have with it was when I caught a flathead catfish. It was just a surprise bycatch. I was fishing for crappie, and of all things I was using a Roadrunner, which is what I got tied on it right now. And the minute that I hooked this thing, the drag just started screaming, and it was just peeling line off like crazy. I fought it and fought it and fought it. I managed to bring it in finally. The fish was so freaking tired that I think it was like an 8-minute fight, and that is forever in freshwater fishing. So I get the flathead coming up towards the kayak. I had my net in hand. His head was so big that it couldn't fit inside my freaking net. So I dropped the net, I hurried up, grabbed the boga grip, and as I was grabbing the boga grip and started to reach down, I started high sticking. I put, you know, it already had a lot of stress on this freaking hook. The Roadrunners, if you fish with them, you know that they've got really light wire hooks, and the hook had completely straightened out. It shot up as I was high sticking, and I'm like, oh my gosh. The fish was there on the surface of the water, bobbling around. I'm trying to reach with it with the boga to grab him by the mouth and lip it. However, I didn't get to, every time I tried to grab him, the fish kept bobbling away, floating away, and soon enough, he just started swimming down really slow, and I'm like, I just cannot believe that just happened. I didn't have video of it or anything like that to prove, but that's one of my fish stories, most memorable thing that I had with this one. This thing has caught some big, big fish. All by accident too, fishing for crappie and bluegill, and this guy just reels them in. This reel has a lot to do with it too. All of Shimano's reels are freaking awesome with drag, and man, they are beasts. They severely underrate their gear, if you ask me. Okay, we move over to the ice fishing stuff that I've got. Another Shimano Saros. I purchased it the same time that I purchased my other one that's on the St. Croix rod. This Shimano Saros is supposed to be paired with this Bass Pro Microlight rod. It's a light action, 6-footer, and is again a beast. Bass Pro made awesome rods back in the late 90s, but that is not the case anymore. So for ice fishing, I've got it paired, or I've got the ice fishing rod paired with the Saros 1000 spinning reel that was supposed to go on that. This is a Fenwick HMG little $25 rod. it worked. It did its job out there on the ice. I caught, quite a few perch, and what else did I catch? Bass and everything else. In order to get my money's worth, I'm probably going to use this whenever my son, the little guy, he loves fishing challenges. He likes to somehow finagle me into agreeing for, hey dad, biggest fish gets $5. However, he's not going to pay up $5. It's like if he wins, I pay up the $5. But yeah, in order to handicap myself, I will use this maybe for future challenges with him. I'd love to try it out in the salt and bring in a redfish or maybe a speckled trout. That would be pretty awesome to test my skill and see if I can bring something like that in on a little 1000 series. Great rod and reel. Check them out if you're interested in something like this. So the last one that I've got here is the Zebco Dock Demon. This little guy, yes, he has definitely earned a spot in my lineup. The biggest fish that I've got on this setup right here to date is a 7-pound largemouth. Again, fishing for crappie, nothing but surprise bycatch that I'm, being able to reel in, and this guy did it. It's I think it's a 2.5 foot rod. It's fiberglass. It's super flexible. The reel, it gets the job done. I purchased this whenever I did a trip to Louisiana, and I didn't have a rod and reel to be able to use, and I just wanted something super cheap. This thing was $11 at Cabela's. I fished their pond that's right next to their store. I brought in a couple of bass, and then I went to New Orleans and fished there. Brought in 1 bass. The true test was here in New York when I was fishing West Point, and I brought in that 7-pounder. It's caught a lot of crappie. It's caught perch. Gets the job done. The drag is not super smooth, however, it can get the job done. So yeah, that's it. These are all my rod and reel setups. I'm not big on purchasing so many rods, one for each, application or technique. That is not me. With all of these guys, I've acquired each and every one of them through the course of over 20 years. So yeah, less than 15 rod and reels, that's not too bad. So there you have it. These are the rod and reel setups that I use. By no means am I trying to endorse any of the brands that I just told you about. The best advice that I can give you is to go out, purchase whatever it is that you can afford, and get on the water and just use it. Through a couple of years of experience with those setups, you're going to become a master with them. You'll know how to use them and fish them. Not one setup is better than another. So I would never tell anyone, oh no, you're using garbage. You need to step over to these right here that I've got behind me. That's just complete nonsense. So if anybody tries to do that, then I don't know. If I were you, I would steer clear of them. Don't let someone tell you to spend your hard-earned money on something that you honestly don't need. All fishing rods and reels catch fish, period. It just depends on each angler on how good they are to be able to use them. So one of the sayings that I like to use with everybody is, picking your gear is like picking your nose. You're not going to let your friends do that for you. That's just completely gross. So yeah, if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. If you want to leave some comments down below, some of the things that you're using that you love to use, maybe you might want to share that with me. Tell me to try it out, and this is why you use it. By all means, do that. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. And until next time, fellas, tight lines.